Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio. And now, here's our host, Dr. Vanessa Anceloni.
Welcome, dear listener, to Kardec Radio. Today, we are here from the Chantilly Studios at Kardec Radio to talk to you about tips on self-love. Who doesn't need self-love? Self-love is vital for any happy life. Why do we want to be happy? Well, the answer is in each of our hearts. We're going to begin the program by understanding that Allan Kardec himself asked this very question to the spirits on the Spirits book, question 919. What is the most effective means for improving ourselves in this life and for resisting the draw of evil? A sage of antiquity has told you, know thyself. And Kardec then asked, we comprehend all the wisdom of that maxim, but the difficulty is precisely in knowing ourselves. By what means can we do so? And the answer was, do what I used to do when I was living on the earth. At the end of each day, I examined my conscience, reviewed what I had done, and asked myself whether or not I had failed to fulfill some duty, and whether or not anyone might have had reason to complain about me. It was thus that I arrived at knowing myself, and at seeing what there was in me that needed to be reformed. Those who every night would recall all their actions during the day, and would ask themselves what good or evil they have done, praying to God and their guardian angel to enlighten them, would acquire great strength for self-improvement, because believe me, God will assist them. Therefore, ask yourselves. Ask yourselves for this help. Dear listener, this is part of the question and the answer. We'll talk more about how the spirit of St. Augustine talks about strengthening ourselves, working on our self-love. If we love ourselves, we work on our self-improvement. Some people tell me, Vanessa, I don't want to hear about self-improvement because I feel afraid at seeing my defects. I feel defeated. I prefer just to see the positive. Well, we have to have courage. Courage. Because if we don't face the things that need to be changed, we will not grow stronger. Pretending they are not there, just overlooking them is not going to help us. And you, dear listener, if you're there listening to us live today, you can participate by sending your comment at Blog Talk Radio, at the chat room of Kardec Radio, or calling directly our toll-free number 1-858-769-4705. We are here to share these tips with you because, of course, the central message that we're going to discuss came through André Luiz. André Luiz, the spirit author of the book No Solar and many others, through the medium Chico Xavier, told us about 10 tips on how to love ourselves even more, how to improve ourselves and live a better life. I know you want to hear about that message. That's going to happen soon after the break. But before the break, we want to share with you that at the end of this month of April, the month of April 26th, the Symposium of the United States Spiritist Council is going to happen in Chicago, Illinois. All you have to do is go to the website, spiritistsymposium.org. Do your registration. Don't forget, there are many friends there you're going to make and probably see and visit old friends. It's a good opportunity to not only share, learn, serve, but exercise love. It's a great opportunity. We would recommend to you right now, we would like to share the very message with you after this break. When we finish the break, we'll stream the message from André Luiz to you. We're going to talk about who was André Luiz for those who don't know, and about Chico Xavier, and then listen to the message, break it down in 10 little pieces so we can get stronger. The vitamins that will come from this beautiful message are just life-changing. Think about it. Be prepared, because the journey is amazing.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Getting to the Light, Spiritist Therapy for Discarnate Spirits is a small book that offers guidance to Spiritist practitioners and Spiritist counselors. Purchase your copy at www.ssbaltimore.org.
Nourish Your Soul with Kardec Radio.
If you missed out on a previous shows, no worries. We have an on-demand section of all previous shows and interviews. Go to our website at www.kardecradio.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Help prevent suicide by reading and sharing these books with others. 2 great books are available to help in this Kardec Radio campaign to prevent suicide. Suicide, All You Need to Know, by the international Spiritist speaker Richard Simonetti. You can buy your copy at www.roundtablepublishing-uk.com. Also, Memoirs of a Suicide by the medium Yvonne Pereda. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Kardec Radio, live every Saturday at 11 a.m.
Kardec Radio now offers more programs during the week and weekends. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can follow the beautiful program God at Home with Francisca Kranz and the British Spiritist community. They will brighten your days by doing a God at Home meeting wherever you are in the world, while teaching you how to do the same in your own home with your family and friends. Every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will hear incredibly inspirational Spiritist talks directly broadcasted by Spiritist Network. There will be true educational moments to carry out to immortality. Every Saturday, live interviews, Bridging Health and Spiritism with the host Dr. Vanessa Anceloni. You may ask questions to the interviewed guests by calling 858-769-4705. And every Sunday, tune in to Spiritist Awareness at Kardec Radio. You will hear a series of segments on a diversity of Spiritist topics. Kardec will broadcast the Spiritist Moment with Kirsten DeMello, the reading of the Spiritist book by John DeRosa and Steve Shepard, Spiritism in Your Life with Drs. Marco and Joyce Magalhães, Spiritism and the Gospel with Luis Sergio Marotta, Spiritist Education for Youth and Children with Bernadette Leal, Spiritist Music with James Marotta, Neuroscience and Spiritism with Dr. Vanessa Anceloni, and many more segments coming soon. Enjoy it all and nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
And now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we're here to talk about self-love. Jesus said once, love your neighbors as thyself. So, to love anybody else, we need to love ourselves. How often we have problems loving others because deep inside we don't love ourselves. And by the way, hello, dear friend from London is here with us. She's the host of the program God at Home every Wednesday. It's good to have you here, as well as Bernadette Leal, who is also here with us and is a host of the segment Yes, Spiritism for Children and Youth every Sunday. And hello everyone who is there at Blog Talk Radio chat room as well. We would like to hear from you. What are your tips on self-love? We all have it, because deep inside in our conscience we have many ways to really find appreciation for ourselves. In the book, The Spirit's Book by Allan Kardec, we get to know that the way to really work on ourselves, because when we love ourselves, we work on ourselves, we improve ourselves, like our home, right? When you love your home, you improve it. You don't let like a broken window stay there for, many days. You try to fix it as much as you can and as soon as possible. Same like a car. If you like your car, you really clean it and you take care of it. The same for your physical body, the same for everything. Now, think about ourselves. If I love myself, I improve myself. And then Kardec asked, how do I improve myself? And I actually stay away from the junk. Let's say evil is junk, okay? In Spiritism, evil is simply ignorance. And no wonder Jesus said, people didn't know any better. That's why they were committing that evil. So how do I stay away from junk? And how do I improve myself? How do I love myself more? By knowing ourselves. This is how the Spirits addressed Kardec's question 919 in the Spirit's Book. And they say, self-knowledge is therefore the key to individual improvement. But you will ask, how do we judge ourselves? Won't we be under the illusion of vanity, which exalts our wrongs and makes them excusable? Misers think they are simply being thrifty and foresightful, while proud individuals think they are only full of dignity. All of this is quite true, but you have a means of control that cannot deceive you. When you are indecisive as to the quality of any one of your actions, ask how you would judge the situation if it had been done by someone else. If you would blame it, any other, it cannot be any more legitimate for you, for God does not use two measures for justice. Also, seek to know what others think about you, and do not neglect the opinion of your enemies, because they have no interest in disguising the truth. Frequently, God places them beside you as a mirror in order to warn you more frankly than a friend would. Therefore, let those who are truly willing to improve themselves examine their own conscience in order to uproot from it their evil tendencies as they uproot weeds from their garden. Let them balance out their moral workday like business persons do with their profits and losses. And I can assure you that there will be more profits than losses. If you can say that your workday has been good, you can sleep in peace and fearlessly wait for your awakening in the other life. So formulate clear and precise questions and do not be afraid to add to them. You would like to do very well to devote a few minutes to securing eternal bliss. This is interesting, to secure eternal bliss. This is quite fascinating, because every time we're studying about Spiritism, dear listener, we're talking about things that will work on our immortality. At this very moment, you and I and the good spirits, everyone who is connected, no matter if it's live or on demand, we are now working on our immortality. There is no waste. If you have to clean the floor of your kitchen right now, or listen to this very program, if you couldn't do the thing, because we know you can, but let's say if you couldn't, what would be more important? To listen to this program. Not because it's us, but because it's our immortality. We're working on things that will last forever, whereas cleaning it now is only going to last until somebody comes and dirty it up. That's pretty much how it goes. Let's recall the passage of Mary and Martha. When Jesus was visiting, the friends who were Lazarus' sisters, the one who was raised from the dead, quote unquote, Lazarus had two sisters, Mary and Martha. Mary and Martha were receiving Jesus. Then many people came along. Mary sat down to listen to Jesus, while Martha was worried and concerned about her duties, serving, the guests at home and cleaning and working in her house duties. So she turned to Jesus and said, "Master, please ask my sister Mary to come and help me." Jesus turns to her and says, "Martha, actually, Mary has chosen the best part." Why? Why did Jesus say that? Because oftentimes we're caught up in the business of our everyday life and we forget about our true essence, our spirituality. Is it something that we cannot conjugate together? Oh, yes, we can. But we need to be fully aware that for everything we do at all times, we are certainly working on ourselves as spirits. If I am in a business meeting, I cannot lose sight that I am a spirit, temporarily on that position, on that physical body, that location, and the best I can do to plant seeds for tomorrow. Not forget that the seeds I plant today, I shall reap tomorrow. Well, dear listener, these are some brief comments. I know you're there thinking, what about the message, Vanessa? I want to hear about the tips for self-love. Me too. I tell you sincerely, me too, because I am not tired of listening to this beautiful message. It was brought by André Luiz. Who is André Luiz? The spirit author of several books, including No Solar, which is also in a movie, and you can get the movie, Our Home, on Amazon.com. Just go to Amazon.com and order your movie and watch it. If you only speak English, don't worry. There is caption in English. It's beautiful. It's uplifting, inspirational. André Luiz, in his last reincarnation, was a famous humanitarian, and also I say humanitarian because of the deeds he did in his profession as a public health physician. He was a physician. He had his family, children, and he discarnated. When he got to the spirit realm, he found himself in trouble. You read the book and you get to know why. And later on, he found out about the reality of the afterlife and came back to tell us. Fascinating. His books are, inspiration is just the least we can describe them. You can read them just buying them at EdiceOfAmerica.com, where you can find them in English, Portuguese, Spanish, etc., many other languages as well. And this book is also in Japanese, believe it or not. So, through the medium Chico Xavier, he wrote these books. Chico Xavier is the most renowned medium spiritist of all times. He's already in the spiritual realm. He discarnated in 2002. He was born in 1910. He is really the greatest of all times because of his loving, humble heart. He really brought to us messages that are nourishment for several reincarnations, not only this one. This is a lifelong and many lives opportunity to get better, to improve ourselves, and to live a happier life. And there's one particular message we dedicated to this very program. It's this Decalogue for self-improvement. 10 tips to love ourselves more, to improve ourselves. You want to hear it, right? Okay, here it goes. Let us enjoy it.
Ten Commandments for Self-Improvement, Andre Louise. Number 1. Decrease your needs and increase your concessions. Number 2. Intensify your work and reduce the share of wasted time. Number 3. Elevate your ideas and repress your impulses. Number 4. Release the present individual in you towards Jesus and imprison the one of the past that still lives in you. Number 5. Watch your gestures and understand the gestures of others. Number 6. Persevere in the noble study, recognizing in life the sacred school for our ascent to God. Number 7. Judge yourself and forgive indiscriminately. Number 8. Speak with humility, listening intently. Number 9. Meditate constructing and pray serving. Number 10. Trust in the eternal love and fulfill your daily obligations that He assigned to you.
Yes, dear listener, a lot of food for thought you may be thinking, right? And you're right, a lot of food for thought. First thing is about self-improvement. Again, we'll bring back the discussion where self-improvement fits in self-love. Self-love needs self-improvement because if I love myself, I take care of myself. When I improve myself, I get better. If I think I don't need to get better, then I don't love myself. That's the reality. Because then I don't even know myself. When I think I'm fine, say, oh, I'm fine. No, we're not fine yet. We will become fine. We will really become refined if we work on ourselves. So bottom line is we need to improve ourselves. When Kardec asked this question, how we can improve ourselves, the Spirit Saint Augustine answered like it was almost like a thesis. The whole idea about self-improvement and how we stay away from junk, from the problems that we carry. We need to know ourselves. We ask ourselves constantly, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I feeling that? Emotions are a big part of us, and we really need to acknowledge that they exist, and we need to take care of them. When we push them away, when we repress them, we create a depression, anxiety, and a lot of other problems. In this message, the Spirit Andre Louise begins by saying the very following. Tip number 1 for self-love.
Number 1. Decrease your needs and increase your concessions.
So, how many of us have problems because we have a lot of needs? A lot of needs. And we think, oh, and I need more and more. And we are in a world that really pushes us to need more and more and more. For example, you're home. You receive coupons from stores. They tell you 25% discount. Oh, great. But then you ask, do I need it? Oh, but there is a discount. But do I need it? Do I need this extra toaster because it's cheaper, because it has a discount? Do I need this piece of clothes? For example, you receive a coupon from Victoria's Secret, and then they say, if you buy $75, you get this beautiful tote bag. Great! Let's go! Great promotion. Do you need what you're going to buy? These items for $75 to get this tote bag? Do you really need it? Or is it just a whim? That's precisely what he's saying. And it's no wonder. Self-improvement begins with this tip number 1. Because the minute I decrease my needs, I am less of a needy person. I complain less. I demand less. I'm more relaxed. Ooh, life is easier. Doesn't it feel easier just by thinking about it? Oh, yes, it does. Because then I don't need to demand on anything and anyone, because I don't need it. Why will I push myself? But he's not done with the first tip. To reduce our needs is not enough. We needed to take action, which is increase your concessions. Let's go to the very meaning of the word concession. In the Merriam-Webster, concession means the act or an instance of conceding, as by granting something as a right, accepting something as true, or acknowledging a defeat. The admitting of a point claimed in an argument, something conceded or granted, acknowledgement, admission. Bottom line, it's our giving to somebody else. Give more. Bottom line. It's from St. Francis' prayer. Give more than ask for. Give more than ask for. Then ask for you. Give more. Concede. Allow. Grant. Yield. Doesn't it feel like the flowing of water? When it flows, it concedes. It gives. It flows instead of retaining. So the first tip is all about giving, allowing, conceding. What is in our life that we need to concede? Maybe it's that opportunity that we are missing of allowing somebody in our lives who has a point of view on something and we just concede. That's fine. We're not going to be less if we just allow it to be the way it is. Or it is the job that we want but we're not having yet. Who cares? One day we may be granted if God allows. If not, we're not going to be less because of it. But everything we can do to think about how we can allow life to go through us without us retaining it. This is a mechanism of selflessness, which is the opposite of selfishness. And the spirits say we will only be happier when we become selfless, when we become more one with others in our lives, allowing them, conceding to them. So this is the tip number 1. Decrease our needs, increase our concessions. This is tip number 1 from Dr. Andrea Lewis to increase self-improvement, to increase self-love. Make a list of your needs. Revisit them. Are they real needs? Concede. Probably you don't need that much. Tip number 2 by Dr. Andrea Lewis.
Number 2, intensify your work and reduce the share of wasted time.
This is unbelievable, dear listener. Intensify your work and diminish the amount of time that we are just wasting time. What does work mean in Spiritism? We need to revisit that first before we understand what André Luiz means here. Because is he saying like, oh, if I have a job, create another job, get more jobs? No. If we go to the third part of the Spirit's book, Law of Work, André Luiz gets this idea of work from the book by Allan Kardec. The Spirits say that work is any useful occupation. Any useful occupation. So when he's saying increase the amount of your work, he's saying become more useful. And don't waste your time. Don't be idle. Don't throw away the time that is granted to you by God. What does that mean? When I am talking to a friend, make that conversation useful. Talking about other people is useless. When you are even shopping, make that shopping opportunity useful, not only for you, but for other people as well. When you're home, instead of just sitting down and doing nothing, think about something that needs to be cleaned, fixing something at home. Think about the opportunity of talking to a family member who is at home and needs your attention. These are some elements that can really make our time less wasted and more useful, increasing the load of our work. That's not a job, he's saying. He's saying making time useful. Think about it. At this very time, you and I are increasing our load of work just by talking to one another, listening to this program, but in a very useful way, very kindly, very jovially. It doesn't feel heavy, does it? No, on the contrary, we feel happier. Think about the opportunity that you have at each and every moment, even when we pray. That is an opportunity to increase the load of work. I'll share with you how we can even be useful and increase the amount of work when we pray for others. The other day, I was actually reading on the newspaper sad news about a woman. She's a mother, and she had a 10-month-old baby. The baby had 2 accidents. Didn't pay attention. The baby fell from the crib and bumped his head, had some concussion, and then again on the other day, she felt so guilty. Her husband and her were having a difficult time at home, arguing all the time. It was then, dear listener, that she was so distraught by feeling responsible and guilty for these incidents that she put her baby on her carrier, wearing the baby on her, and living on a building in Manhattan, she decided to jump from the building. It's sad, but she did it. She died, but the baby didn't. She left a message, a letter saying, I am responsible for 2 shameful incidents. And due to that, my baby is never going to be healthy again. For that, she decided to quit life and also to kill the life of her son. Her son didn't die, but she discarnated. We today pray for her at this very program at Kardec Radio. We have to. When you read the news in these newspapers, pray. Pray for the politicians that we don't agree instead of cursing them. This is a way to increase the load of our work and decrease our wasted time. Because if I simply read the news and I don't pray for those who are in need. Why am I reading those sad news? It's not increasing, adding anything to my life or anybody else's life. It's a waste of time. So this is what André Luiz says: to love ourselves, I really need to improve myself. So, dear listener, this is tip number 2 from our dear friend André Luiz. By the way, Marcos D. Clay from Canada, good morning to you too. Thank you for being with us at Kardec Radio today. Now, tip number 3 from Dr. André Luiz for self-love. Let us listen.
Number 3, elevate your ideas and repress your impulses.
Now, elevate your ideas and repress your impulses. Elevate your ideas, meaning any idea? What does it mean? It means that if I think every day about paying my bills, taking my child to the doctor, and cooking, cleaning, working, studying, it's saying push a little bit, elevate. Because this is just the work of everyday life. Very noble, but we need to elevate it even more. Meaning, think about immortality. Think about how we are improving our lives in this planet. Let's read a book and elevate our ideas. How often we forget that the world is getting better and we are caught up in the sad news of everyday newspaper because we forget that there are many people doing wonderful things. If you type in goodnewsnetwork.com, you're going to be impressed about the many good deeds that people are doing every day. Unbelievable. Every day. People are doing wonderful things, and we don't know. But there is a newspaper like that online, and you can get to know about many noble ideas that are happening around the world, and you can elevate yours as well. By reading Spiritist books, we get to know how many good things are happening in the universe, and we didn't know until then, and we also elevate ourselves. So it's great to know that there are opportunities for us to also, recycle our ideas. Have you thought about this? We talk about recycling things. What about recycling ideas? Meaning, if I have a bad idea about myself, recycle it. Meaning, put in the machine of good ideas and allow it to renew itself and come out as a beautiful idea that you are a child of God and you deserve a new opportunity. How about that? That's a way for us to elevate our thoughts in everyday life. Are there more tips for improving ourselves? Oh, yes. And Dr. André Luiz is not done. He has 7 other tips to share with us about self-love, self-improvement. After the break. After this break, we'll have more. If you have questions or suggestions, either call us at 858-769-4705 or write to us at the Blog Talk Radio chat room at Kardec Radio. We'll be happy to listen from you. After the break, Dr. André Luiz will share more tips on self-love.
We will return to our program after these messages.
New release, Liberation. In this compelling narrative, André Luiz emphasizes the work of high-order spirits in the effort to convert the spirit Gregorio to the good, an effort that culminates with the unforgettable re-encounter with his mother, herself a highly evolved spirit, wherein he surrenders to the irresistible call of love. The book also contains information on how unhappy spirits act as they try to involve incarnates in their wiles. The Spirit author tells of the intercession of high-order spirits on behalf of human beings, demonstrating the divine compassion that grants to all the blessed opportunity to free themselves by means of study, labor, and persevering service in the practice of the good. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Want Spiritist books for your children? At Edicei of America, you will find a collection of them. From the best-selling book, Our Father, in which the Spirit Mei through Chico Xavier brought countless poems, stories, and folk tales based on the Lord's Prayer, to the beautiful and educational collection by the author Adelson Sales on Back to School and many others. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
If you missed out on previous shows, no worries. We have an on-demand sections of all previous shows and interviews. Go to our website, www.kardecradio.com.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
Spiritism for Everyone is the live web study meeting and educational program of the United States Spiritist Council. This year, in commemoration of the 150th anniversary of the Gospel according to Spiritism, the Spiritism for Everyone program will present an in-depth study of this remarkable book. Join us every Wednesday evening through the web from any computer or mobile device, no matter where you are in the U.S. Spiritism for Everyone is free, open to all, and requires no registration. For more information, go to www.spiritist.us.
And now we return to our program.
Yes, we're talking about self-love because self-love is the core for transformation. If each of us on the earth talk about and think about and work on our self-love, wouldn't the world be better? And it will. And it will. And Dr. André Luiz, through Chico Xavier, talks about 10 tips for self-improvement, for self-love. The first one we talked about was decreasing our needs, increasing our concessions. The second one, intensifying our workload and reducing our waste time. And number 3, elevating our ideas and repressing our impulses. What kinds of impulses was he talking about? The ones that are negative. Because this impulse for love, of course, we don't repress. But he's talking about repressing the impulses of the instincts that are not helpful in our lives. So it's about domestication of ourselves. Bottom line, dear listener, it's about knowing that we are an evolving soul. In the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, from questions 100 to 113, the Kardec and the good spirits share with us that there is a hierarchy of evolution of spirits, from imperfect to good and pure spirits. When we read that, we get to know more about ourselves. It's so interesting. The other day at the Spirit Society of Virginia, we were studying it. It's like a week ago. And when we're studying the very excerpt, they talk about neutral spirits. Spirits who don't know good, who don't do actually bad, but they are not engaged in doing good either. And I'm like, who is this? Is this us? Are we neutral spirits? Oh, please, I don't want to be a neutral spirit. Neutral? Can you imagine being like, it's not like hot, not cold. What is it? I don't know. We really want to be like someone, meaning doing good, giving our, footprints of love in people's hearts, everywhere we are, and allowing our animal nature to be conquered by the human one. The spirits are not asking us to be angels. They're asking us to be humans. We're still leaving the realm of animal nature to get to spiritual human nature. And in that regard, we need to repress. And when he says repress, it's like domesticating. It's like taming these impulses. For example, when somebody says something and I have this impulse of replying, reacting right away, I need to learn how to take action, act instead of reacting. When we study Jesus' attitude in the book Good News, which is in English but under revision and soon to be published, in that book, which is in Portuguese, Boa Nova, Jesus is never reacting. When people asked him questions, teased him, they never got a reaction from him. He was actually very composed. Even when they were very hard, he was composed and he took action. He never reacted. He often had a smile before he answered those questions. He always had a kind look. He always had a loving embrace before he actually reacted. This is how André Luiz is telling us repress the impulse, meaning hold it and then take action. It's like a coaching program, right? We love coaches because they come with us and teach us each and every step. And you know who is the best coach in our lives? You may be thinking, Jesus. No, your guardian angel. Your guardian angel is your coach. He is the one who is here with us to help in that regard. And by the way, hi Bernadette. She's telling us, Vanessa, would you please also mention the importance of teaching children and teens about self-improvement and self-love? Thanks. Bernadette Leal, you're the expert in the field, but I agree with you. It's imperative. The world is only going to change if we teach self-improvement and self-love to our kids. I would say, Bernadette, and you can share your thoughts too here at Kardec Radio right now, I would say that we can teach our children by talking about it first, bringing the topic, since they are in our belly. There, we talk about you were born to serve God. You were born to grow, to progress. Your love, your light, your joy of living. This is what I've been teaching baby Virginia, singing to her like, you are joy, you are joy of living, you are light, you are here to serve God and take care of your physical body. The cells are working for you. Teaching them to treat their physical body like the most loved pet of all times. Taking care of that little pet, caressing, giving good food, good rest, water, good thoughts, good feelings, good actions. These are some, Bernadette, how we would start on self-love and self-improvement by observing our feelings and being patient. Sometimes we get frustrated, and children do feel frustrated, I would say most of the time, because their physical body is not, fully functioning yet as they want. So they get frustrated. I see with baby Virginia, she wants to hold like a little star that is like in front of her, and she's like, I want to grab it, and she's like, crying because she wants to grab it and she can't. And then I say, baby Virginia, don't be frustrated. That's life. Sometimes we want things, we don't get them, but be persistent. So talking to them naturally about it every day. And there are so many other mechanisms. I would create a jar of self-love. The other day I read this about the jar of gratitude. But, self-love is the target. So Affirmations are great ways to love ourselves. I have this practice of writing affirmations on a post-it note and putting them in the mirror. So every morning when I brush my teeth, every time I am in front of my mirror in the bathroom, I read those messages to myself. Affirmations are a great way to really improve ourselves, telling us things that sometimes we carry from many lifetimes. Don't you agree, dear friend, dear listener, that often it is hard because we carry these load from previous lives? Sometimes from previous lives we have been telling this program inside of our minds, like, I don't deserve to be happy, I don't deserve this and the other. Now we need to do the opposite. I deserve to be happy, says Joanna de Angelis. And I must be happy, she says. Why? Because if I'm not, people in my life won't be either. We are interdependent. It's a measure of social love when I love myself. Well, let's continue and listen from the expert, Dr. Andrea Lewis. Tip number 4.
Number 4. Release the present individual in you towards Jesus and imprison the one of the past that still lives in you.
Ay, ay, ay. We don't like that, do we? To imprison the person of the past that lives inside of us and free the one in the present. What is this? Is this like a little schizophrenic? No. This is actually an opportunity for us to recognize that inside of us we have two forces. Even Freud talked about it. The force of death, the force of life. The impulse of life, the impulse of death. It's natural. We have the tendencies of the past. What do you do with it? Don't allow it to take place in this life. Allow the new man to be free. You may be asking, what is this new person inside of me? You know, I will tell you what the new person is inside of you, dear listener. That one that wants to hug somebody whom you haven't been talking for a while. That's the new person. The old person is the one saying, oh, but he doesn't give me a hug. I'm not going to give him a hug either. That's the old one. The new one is like a child, all embracing. Free, willing to do good, trusting, loving, caring. How often we do the opposite? We imprison the new person and we free up the old one. No. Don't do that. Andrea Lewis is saying, do the reverse. Free the new. Paul of Tarsus told about that. How often we think of doing good things, but we do the old ones. So imprison the old ones. Say, you're grounded. Stay at the corner. You're going to learn how to do better because we need to go and write that email. Make that phone call. Apologize. Make friends. Make amends. People may turn to you like once a man. He turned to Chico Xavier. Chico Xavier knocked on his door and was apologetic for something. Actually, he didn't do, but he wanted to be friends with that man. The man couldn't believe Chico Xavier. It's like, what, Chico Xavier? Either you're really humble or you're really daring. Dear listener, let's do what Chico Xavier did. Free the new man. Trust. If people turn to us and say, oh, I don't believe you, I don't think you have changed, don't worry. Don't worry. They will see sooner or later you've changed. because we all change, dear listeners, sooner or later. So that's the tip. Tip number 5 now.
Number 5. Watch your gestures and understand the gestures of others.
This is about non-verbal communication. Often we are caught up in paying attention to our verbal, what we say to others, what we think. But we forget that a big part of our communication is nonverbal. And you see how this message is really at the forefront of science. Science just currently is realizing that we are more about what we don't speak than what we speak, the nonverbal language. And André Luiz knew it all along. He said, if you want to improve yourself, you need to observe what you are showing to others, not necessarily what you're saying only, but what you're showing, what you're expressing. So you need to study yourself. You know what I do with my students at the University of Maryland? Every semester, I have sessions, workshops with them on self-knowledge. How? I get the emotion cards by the Onion Head Company, and you can go to harnessinghappiness.com. They have these beautiful kits for emotion cards, and I do activities with them in which they cannot speak to one another, but they have to enact something. It's like take action, create a scenario, and with their facial expression, gestures, posture, etc., nonverbal language, they will communicate to one another. And I ask them also to take pictures of themselves when they are feeling sad. So I say, create a photo album of yourself with your different facial expressions. You know, Bernadette, this is a great activity to do with children. So they get to know about themselves. Watching, as André Luiz says, our own nonverbal language. So when you're feeling sarcastic, how do you look like? Now we have computers. It's so easy. They have cameras. Look at a computer and think of yourself feeling sarcastic. Take a picture. Look at it later. How do you look? Do you like it? Because that's the way you're presenting yourself to others. Even if you're not saying anything, but you're expressing it. When you're feeling angry, how do you look like? Do you have an idea? No. Nobody took a picture of you when you're angry. Now, take your picture when you're feeling angry. Look at yourself. Do you like it? Probably not. Because that's how we look like to others. Many problems in relationships happen because of the nonverbal language. More than words, really, is the language we're communicating without speaking. So he says, watch your gestures and take care of the ones that are coming from others. This is what we call emotional intelligence. This is really what we call emotional intelligence. The spirits are very wise. We're going to give one more break. And after the break, we have here, dear listener, 5 more self-tips on self-love for us.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Books of André Luiz. Through the hands of the most prolific medium of all times, Chico Xavier, the spirit doctor André Luiz wrote a series of books that unveil the mechanisms of life and life after life. From the best-selling novel No Solar, Our Home, to And Life Goes On, the reader will find illumination for a fulfilled life on Earth as well as immortal happiness. Check the many titles available at the international distributor, EDI CEI of America. Their website is www.edicei.com. ADICEIofamerica.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Spiritist Network, your gateway to on-demand Spiritist videos. www.spiritistnetwork.com.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio. Traveling to another country? Immigrating elsewhere? Prepare yourself by reading the book Among Brothers of Other Lands, in which several loving and wise spirits wrote through the hands of Chico Xavier and Waldo Vieira, telling all of us the tips and hints of a successful transition to a new land. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Do you want Spiritist books for your children? At Odyssey of America, you'll find a collection of them, from the best-selling book Our Father, in which the Spirit Mei Mei, through Chico Xavier, brought countless poems, stories, and folk tales based on the Lord's Prayer, to the beautiful and educational collection by the author Edailson Salles on Back to School and many others. Buy your copy today at www.odysseyofamerica.com.
And now we return to our program.
Now, in this beautiful study we're doing about self-love, we're going to remind you that Kardec Radio has a new campaign. As a tribute to 150 years of the Gospel according to Spiritism, we have our Gospel Faves at Kardec Radio. If you have your favorite passage of the Gospel according to Spiritism, share it with us. You know, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, actually, our dear Carla Smith, she shared with us that her favorite passage of the Gospel according to Spiritism is item 7 of the chapter, The Consoling Christ. I am the great doctor of souls, and I have come to bring you the medicine that shall heal them. The frail, the suffering, and the infirm are my blessed children, and I have come to save them. Therefore come to me, you who suffer and who are overburdened, and you will be soothed and consoled. Do not look elsewhere for strength and consolation, for the world is unable to provide them. God makes a supreme appeal to your hearts through Spiritism. Listen to it. May impiety, deceit, error, and disbelief be uprooted from your aching souls. They are the monsters that suck your purest blood, and which nearly always wound you mortally. In the future, humble and submissive to your Creator, may you practice His divine law. Love and pray. Be docile before the Spirit of the Lord. Invoke Him from the depths of your heart, and then He will see you, His beloved. He will send you His beloved Son to teach you and say these good words. I am here. I have come to you because you have called me. Spirit of Truth. Bordeaux, 1861. Thank you so much, Carla, for sharing. And you, dear listener, if you have your share, because we're going to read them here. And it's going to be an opportunity for others to get to know about these beautiful set messages that are changing your lives. By the way, the message that is changing our lives today is the 10 Tips for Self-Improvement by André Luiz Chico Xavier. And we are ready on tip number 6. Let us listen.
Number 6. Persevere in the noble study, recognizing in life the sacred school for our ascent to God.
Quite interesting, because he says, you see, the message in itself has a rationale that is like so intricate, it's so beautiful. He says, Before the break, we are talking about tip number 5. Watch your gestures, your nonverbal language. And then we may be asking, how do I do that? Well, study about it. And that's tip number 6. Persevere in the noble study. What noble study? He's talking about studying law, math, literature. No, he's talking about the study about immortality. He says recognizing the sacred school for the ascension to God. He's saying study, persevere. Of course, we can even tell to our children, persevere in your study at school because that's noble too. That study will never go away. We can carry it to immortality. The title stays, but the knowledge is forever. So this is something we can tell our children from the beginning. You will never waste your time studying. On the contrary, you're always going to increase your load for immortality and persevere. Why he's saying persevere? Because in our world, some people still do not value study. We still think that making money is more important. And I'm sorry, study in its nobility is very, very, very important. So he says, persevere. And you may be asking, how can we improve ourselves by studying? Because often we can study not necessarily improve ourselves. That's why he says persevere. And persevere in this noble study by recognizing that we are in life to ascend to God. Meaning, when I study, I think of myself in this immortal life and using that knowledge for it, it's going to be an improvement for me. That's why I keep telling my students, when you take an exam, don't take it the hard way. Take it the easy way. And what is it? It's the opportunity for you to learn. At that moment when you're taking an exam, enjoy it. You may be laughing at me right now, but that's how I always took my exams at school, at university, as an opportunity to learn. I enjoyed taking exams and tests. Why? Because I saw it as an opportunity to reflect again and again about the lessons that I was studying. So at exam time, I was not only being tested, I was learning more because I was deepening my reflection on those very questions. And then, man, I enjoyed taking my tests and my exams. I never freaked out at exams. I'm not feeling more for it, but I'm just sharing with you. That's an experience that I carry with me, and I can tell you, I assure you, it works. If you take your test and your exam as an opportunity to learn, then you're going to enjoy it. You can teach your children about it. When you go to your test, breathe in and out very deeply. And I share this with my students at the University of Maryland. Breathe in and out, sit down, relax. The teacher is not more important for you now. Your evaluation is not more important. What you're learning by reflecting on those questions is more important. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy it. And André Luiz is right. If I learn it, that in school I am here to learn, then every study becomes noble. Number 7. Thank you, Bernadette. Thank you. Thank you, friend. I know you have to go back to work. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Bernadette. You say we just inspired you to create a simpler version of these tips for children to work with them at the symposium. Beautiful, my friend, because you work very hard. You deserve lots of inspiration. Now, dear listener, let us listen to another beautiful tip of self-love.
Number 7. Judge yourself and forgive indiscriminately.
Ay. We don't like to judge ourselves. Yeah, we don't. Why? Because we're still fragile. Jesus said that to Peter once. Peter, often we're more fragile than evil. And he was right. We're fragile. That's why we don't want to look at ourselves in the mirror and recognize who we are. I have things in myself, dear listener. I do have things that I regret. That I look back and say, oh, man, I wish I haven't said that. I wish I have embraced more, hugged more, etc. I remember, for example, I was the president of the Spirit Society of Baltimore for 14 years. I loved it. I left friends there, friends that I still have. But when I recap some things I did as, the president in my administration, I regret. I regret the times, for example, that I was harsh on people, that I was demanding too much on them, and I forgot to hug them. Believe it or not, I regret. And I wish I could play like rewind, go back, hug them. I remember when I was upset at times that, some people said, I'm going to bring, this flyer. They forgot it, and I was upset with them. I could have done better. And I asked God, please forgive me for I hurt people. I hurt people because I was trying to fulfill a task, but I forgot that more important than the task was the person. And I'm trying to do better. So I really need to go back at myself and look at myself in the mirror and say, Vanessa, work on this. When they say judge ourselves, they're not saying be harsh on you. They're saying observe yourself, evaluate yourself all the time. And the other day I was so happy looking at myself in the mirror, and I could evaluate myself but also being kind. Looking at myself like, I wish I knew better. But we need to forgive indiscriminately. And he's not saying forgive others. He's saying forgive yourself as well. Forgive yourself as well. How many people say, I can't forgive myself? No, you should. So you can forgive others as well. Here we have it, dear listener. This beautiful saying, judge yourself and forgive indiscriminately. We won't love ourselves if we don't forgive ourselves. How do we forgive ourselves? By knowing that we're children of God. If God doesn't punish us, who are we to punish ourselves? We can't. We need to forgive ourselves. And when it's hard, here's tip number 8 to make it easier on forgiving ourselves.
Number 8, speak with humility, listening intently.
Speak with humility. What does that mean? Being humble meaning don't put ourselves at the forefront. And you may say, but Vanessa, you're talking about yourself. But I'm just sharing, dear listener. I'm not bragging about myself because I am aware that I have a lot to grow. But meaning at conversations, instead of talking about me, my, mine all the time, I can actually decrease that and listen more. Listen intently. This is how we're humble. And when I go back to the book Boa Nova, Good News by the Spirit Humberto de Campos through Chico Xavier, I observed Jesus' attitude. He was humble. People think of Jesus as the master who was talking all the time. He was actually listening intently all the time. And when he was speaking, he was very humble. If you go to the 3rd chapter, when he talks about Jesus coming to the temple of Jerusalem, he didn't go inside. Why? Because he was humble. He didn't want to impose himself on anybody else because he was the master of all masters. He sat by the stairs. And when Hanan, one of the priests, approached him to talk to him, quite prideful when addressing Jesus, Umberto de Campos describes that Jesus was very humble but noble, very kind, very serene. He didn't allow himself to be set off, and he was intently listening to Hanan, so much so that he was able to speak with kindness and leave immortal lessons for all of us to date. So speaking with humility is an exercise we can do every day by speaking less on the first person and more on the first person of the singular, I would say, on the I, and speaking more on the first person of the plural, meaning we. When I talk to people, instead of saying, oh, this happened to me and that and the other, I can listen more, speak less about myself, and intently listening from others. This, says André Luiz, improves our lives, and it's something that's going to make us love ourselves more. Finally, he has a tip that is memorable.
Number 9. Meditate constructing and pray serving.
Isn't André Luiz ahead of times? Oh, yes, it is. Because we are living at a very time on the earth, which is great. People talk a lot about meditation. They think, oh, I'm going to this retreat and meditate, being silent for several days, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But he says, meditate constructing, meaning meditate while you are working. This is what Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Nobel Prize Buddhist monk, he says it's the mindful living. So if I am eating, I am meditating and I'm constructing. And if I am praying, when I serve, I am praying. So let's think about it, what we can do. And finally, the crowning tip for self-improvement and self-love. You'll be surprised.
Number 10. Trust in the eternal love and fulfill your daily obligations that He assigned to you.
What is he saying? Trust God and worship God by fulfilling your obligations, the ones He assigned to you. So I need to ask myself, if I am living a circumstance that is difficult, this is what God wants me to do. Surrender. It's that radical surrender, acceptance that Tara Brach, the Buddhist psychology, talks about, which is very much a Christ-like attitude, the surrender to God. Jesus came as the governor of the planet to the earth, and He always said, I came here sent by my Father. This is the spirit that guides our lives, telling us that if we render, our lives to as a cult to God, trusting the eternal love that He is, we will improve ourselves. So, improving ourselves, we need to trust God. Trust the eternal love. We love the way He names God, eternal love. Because people think of God as a judge, but we forget that Christ came to say that God is love, eternal love. There is no condition, unconditional love. Let us trust. And we're going to get better, and we're going to love ourselves, and we're going to love others, and life is going to be much better. And that's the way it is. That's the way it should be, dear listener. And to wrap up the program, would like to leave you as a prayer. This message is almost like a prayer. let us listen to this beautiful message, a whole message again, as our prayerful moment. Let us also wish during this moment that these vibrations can reach out to the heart of that mother we talked at the very beginning, who committed suicide, not knowing that she's loved, that she is cared for. She will have another chance. Wherever she is, may she receive the vibrations of this message we're going to listen as a way to heal her heart and restart her life in the beyond.
Ten Commandments for Self-Improvement, Andre Louise. Number 1. Decrease your needs and increase your concessions. Number 2. Intensify your work and reduce the share of wasted time. Number 3. Elevate your ideas and repress your impulses. Number 4. Release the present individual in you towards Jesus and imprison the one of the past that still lives in you. Number 5. Watch your gestures and understand the gestures of others. Number 6. Persevere in the noble study, recognizing in life the sacred school for our ascent to God. Number 7. Judge yourself and forgive indiscriminately. Number 8. Speak with humility, listening intently. Number 9. Meditate constructing and pray serving. Number 10. Trust in the eternal love and fulfill your daily obligations that He assigned to you.
Amen, Dr. Andre Louise. Thank you so much for this beautiful message. Dear listener, in a week from today, we have a special program. Is Spiritism a religion? Big question. We want to talk about it. Debbie Coron from Connecticut is going to be here with us discussing this beautiful topic. Join us. It's very important. After all, Spiritism is here to help our lives. Is it a religion? Is it a science? What is it? By the way, tomorrow, Spiritist Awareness is here for you at 8 p.m. And on Wednesday, we have Got a Home, and on Thursday, Spiritist Talks. Dear listener, we love you very much. We wish you have a beautiful day wherever you are in this world, no matter if you're listening to us live or on demand. We hope you feel the joy of living, and never forget, trust the eternal love of life, our dear God. Thank you so much for being with us, and many, many blessings.
Thank you for listening to Kardec Radio, broadcasting live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Email us and share your comments at www.kardecradio.com. Until next time, we wish you many blessings.